Hey, welcome to the Higher Ed AV podcast. My name is Joe Way, and I am your host. And do we have a good one for you today? You know that I love return guests. And now, I said this is now an annual tradition. Since I made it an annual tradition, he can't say no in future years, no matter how much I mess this up. And no doubt I will mess this up. Again, you are now, you're good. You can also watch this on AVIXA TV. AVIXA TV, I mean, that's a big thing. So we've got this, a recording with video. I know people do not listen to the show to see me on video, so I apologize for that. But this is one we have to put on AVIXA TV because it is the one and only Dave Labuskes is back with us. Let's do the pretend game and pretend that people don't know who you are and what you do. And please introduce yourself.
Well, it's so exciting to be with the one and only Joe Way. My name's Dave Labuskes. I'm the CEO of the Audiovisual and Integrated Experience Association, also lovingly known as AVIXA, and happy to be here for my fourth time and to continue that annual tradition going forward.
I know this is fantastic. And I actually think back to the first time that you were on. And it was really a different time in the industry. I mean, we're talking pre-pandemic. We were looking at, kind of in year, especially higher ed, was just kind of really starting to come of their own. And now, you go to where, for example, HETMA having a booth and a presence and all that. But we're going to get to that. But I want to start with, how's the show looking? We're, everyone's listening to this. I mean, we're recording on May 10th, but you're watching this and listening to it May 20 something. So we're 4 weeks away-ish from the show. How is it looking? What are you excited about for this year?
I'm excited about everything. The show's looking great. We've got over 650 exhibitors already in, and believe it or not, even a month out, we still add exhibitors every week to an event like this. Registration has been open for a number of months and is tracking incredibly strong, clearly way beyond where we were last year and 2021. And 2020, we shall never speak of again.
Never heard of
it. But this is the industry itself is continuing to change and transform, and the InfoComm event is, I think, reinforces each year the criticality of gathering together as an industry. From the manufacturers through the end users, and sharing information, sharing experiences, creating new experiences, identifying solutions to problems, either through somebody that you meet in happenstance, somebody that you meet at the HETMA booth, somebody you meet at a networking reception. This event is unlike any other event, and this year is, and maybe we go back and review the recordings from each year. But if there was ever a year to be there, this is the year. The amount of content, we have over 100 hours of training that's been prepared for the program. The partnerships that we've put into place. I could go on and on. I don't want to talk for 40 minutes. I'll let you ask me other questions, but it's looking great. I can't believe it's only a month away and counting down the days.
Yeah, I'm excited too. I think there's a general buzz around it. Would you say, are we, quote unquote, back to normal? Are we post pandemic? Is there still a little bit to go before everybody's back? Because I'm not hearing much of, unless maybe budgets aren't back yet, just with it. But I haven't heard a lot of, I'm not going because it's not time. There might be other reasons. Are you kind of, what are feelings are you getting?
Yeah, the industry overall is, industry being the trade show industry, is looking at 2023 as being around 70 to 80% on its way back to where it was prior to the pandemic. We're ahead of that from our projections. Of course, we're still a month out. We don't know for sure where we're going to be. I know that our exhibit floor itself is larger than we had anticipated for this year. I don't know how you define being back, right? I think actually, I'm curious as to when we're even going to stop calling it a trade show, right? Because it's so much more than that. It's a gathering, it's education, it's a demonstration, it's networking and learning. Nobody's come up with a better name yet, and I don't want to play the semantics game with you, but I think we had previously measured shows by the amount of square feet or the number of attendees that go or the number of exhibitors, and those are all easy numbers. And yeah, I suspect that if you have 100 exhibitors, that's better than having 10 exhibitors. But at a certain point, I think what we need to look at is the value of the gathering. And if you and that's almost impossible to measure, right? How do you evaluate the quality of your experience during your time while you're in Orlando? But what I do know is the expectation of those attending and participating in the event is higher than it used to be. Is that because travel is more expensive, or is that because time is more difficult, or is that because information is more readily available through other channels? It's probably a combination of all of those. But I think what's exciting about these types of events, what's magical about these events is that the experience, the value of that week is it's the outcome of a partnership between the exhibitors, the organizer, and the attendees. And all three critically contribute to that value number. And what I'm sensing in the conversations about the event is that I can speak as the organizer. I know we're bringing it all. We're bringing everything we've got to this event. I feel the same way about the exhibitors and about the attendees. I don't feel like people are coming to this event because they have to, or because it's what they do in the middle of June every year. It's not, they're not doing it because it's an annual tradition. They're doing it because it's critical for their career, for their employer, for their future.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. And it's funny because I know it's kind of trademarks, you can't use it, but I call it the Super Bowl instead of our, because it's like there is something there for everyone. And then just bring up everything that you brought up with all the classes and the events and everything that goes on. And besides the trade show floor and all of that, you really have to be strategic to make the most out of it. When I was having a conversation the other day with someone, and they were saying, and I called it, it's the Super Bowl of our industry. And I take that seriously, because it's not just, even as an end user, it's not a vacation that I go to. Like a lot of people think, especially in higher ed, just to kind of, it's like a lot of times, like, and our bosses will say, oh, you just want to go to a trade show so you don't have to do your work for the week. It's like, no, actually, I go to, it's a lot harder to go to InfoComm. I'm 24/7 with a goal of something to achieve for for my own professional growth, for the growth of our institution, things I can bring back to the school and building the network. There's all these things you have to be strategic about. That's a lot harder than sitting at home, and so what is advice now that there's so many things being added, there's a lot that you can do. What advice do you have for people to get the most out of that experience? Because it comes and goes.
Yeah. So I'm sure in your 27 years on this planet that you've received career advice from people. And one of the pieces of advice that you've probably both received and given is be explicit about your goals.
Yeah.
Write them down, right? Where do you want to be 5 years from now? Write them down, right? And until they're written down, they're dreams, they're not goals. They're ideas, they're not plans. I would sort of build on what you just described, which is identify what are the outcomes you want from your trip to Orlando. What is it that you want to achieve? Is it that you need to evaluate the capabilities of manufacturer X's widget compared to what is published? Is it that you need to identify what is the best display that you should put into place for this client whose project you're working on? Or is it that you need to truly understand the intricacies of the 6 different protocols that are used for transmission of signal across an IP network? Whatever those are, write them down, and then identify where are the resources that will be needed to achieve those goals physically present at the show. Is it during a manufacturer training class? Is it during a technology innovation stage presentation? Is it an exhibitor at the Trailblazers Zone? And so I've always said, map out your time, plan your time. But what I'm adding to that piece of advice is plan your time explicitly and purposefully around what you want to achieve. Mm-hmm. Now, maybe you're going to Orlando to reconnect with friends, and that's all you really want to do. And that's great. You're lucky. You're not Joe or Dave. We've got a bunch of other things we need to achieve. But if you aren't clear on why you're going, then you're not going to achieve it, right? It's the old Alice in Wonderland sort of quote of, well, if you don't know where you want to go, pretty much any road you choose will get you there. If you don't know what you want to obtain or achieve from your experience, you'll be able to pretty much go anywhere and do anything. And then, that in and of itself is an exciting experience. I mean, I've never seen anybody walk onto the show floor at an InfoComm and not have their jaw drop and their eyes open and just, make nonverbal gestures of awe and excitement. But my advice is there's so much there, and and be explicit about what you want to achieve.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's incredible advice. And I love it too, because I think a lot of schools even don't think that. And a lot of times they don't know what to expect when they get there. So having that, what projects am I working on? What professional development do I need to be successful in the next couple of years? All that. Put it down and figure out who's doing it. Find the time to get there. I love that. So last time we were on, I made I guessed we were going to have registrations and attendance of 43,000. You liked that number. Are we liking that number again, or do I got to raise it up? Am I,
See, this is what I was talking about. Everybody wants to go back to a number like that.
I know, but but it's fun, right? It's fun. So
it is fun. I think that's a very optimistic number.
All right, then I'll stick with it. We're at 43,000 again. There we go. I'm going to make it happen. We're gonna.
If anybody can, it's you.
So let's get now to what I think is some of the most amazing news. Now, I might be a little biased. HETMA has a 20 by 20 booth on the show floor. Has an end user, and again, I don't know because I wouldn't have paid. Has an end user group, especially I know definitely not in higher ed, gone and put and said we're going to stake it in the ground. Have you seen it? And then also, what does it mean? What does it mean for a show that is growing so much in its end user base, right? That's for attendance.
Well, the end user is the reason the rest of the channel exists, right? Yeah. I don't know off the top of my head any other end user. It's challenging. What do you define
Yeah.
as that, right? And we've had this conversation actually even in the context of higher ed, where you in essence are operating an integration, consulting, design, engineering firm within a firm.
Exactly.
So there's so many of these sort of role definitions that we put onto the value chain of the industry that merge and squish around each other as they meet along that line. There's no clear boundary. I think the key, the value of that individual, the value of that organization to our exhibitors is that you're writing checks, right? You're, so ultimately the final decision, the final purchasing decision is being made in those organizations, whether it's education or entertainment or enterprise. Those individuals are extremely valuable to the exhibitors, and the exhibitors are who's paying for the show. So there's a clear linkage there. We're really excited about the fact that we, in 2022, almost 30% of the attendees were identified themselves as end users. And then as we focus in on HETMA, of that 30% of them are from the education industry. It's clear. You've forgotten more about technology and education than I'll ever know, but how could you possibly operate a university in 2023 without focusing in on AV as a key part of the strategy of the delivery of your mission? So not only are you buyers, but you are buyers with intent. So that's sort of from the exhibitor and that very commercial perspective. But let me layer another part of this, which I think is critically important to have those individuals as part of the ecosystem. Again, regardless of the vertical, roadmaps for product development. The sort of you in essence, you at the HETMA booth are going to be, hosting a 3-day long focus group on what are the challenges that are being faced by all of your peers across all of the universities that participate in the program. And you're going to act as a magnet to others that have those same problems, which then takes me back to that beginning of how do you define the value of this? You simply can't get that experience of meeting new people and developing a trusting relationship and sharing problems and solutions together any other way. There's no substitute for this.
Yep. Yeah, no, I totally agree. And that was one of the things that I've been saying about why having that booth is important. And it's like kind of having a lampstand and having a stake in the ground and saying, here's our vertical. We live as a little line of a, customer type. But now to have a physical presence and say, no, we're here. We account for billions of dollars worth of annual spend. So let's find that common ground together. And I think that that's where I'm looking forward to it. And I think that it hopefully opens up a lot of doors for, as you were just saying, we are, we like to say in-house integrators, right? We are groups that have large, not just budgets, but demands upon our jobs. And we have to have these close relationships with other integration companies, with manufacturers, with distributors, with resellers. We can't just be the person at the end of the chain anymore to be successful in higher education, especially post-pandemic, where we all saw UC and recording and streaming and AV has come, front and center in learning and spaces 100%, but I would say the world too, just in general. That change has done so much.
Yeah, I mean, you talked about sort of at the end of the chain, but it's not really even a chain anymore, right? It's
Yeah.
more like a net, right? And there's all of these interwoven, interlinking aspects of it that we're all dependent upon being successful. So the event itself is really important to HETMA, but HETMA is really important to the event in order to identify and sort of reinforce the relevance of the event. This is why we're partnering with, Digital Signage Federation. This is why we're partnering with NSCA for their educational program. We partner or die, right? And it's even reflected within our industry, right? How many of the booths that you walked in, I'm sorry, stands that you walked at ISE were inclusive of products from other manufacturers, right?
Yeah.
Many of our manufacturers are not only using InfoComm to showcase the interplay of the ecosystem that they can bring to you for a solution in your classroom, but they're also actually forming those ecosystems at an event like this, right? It's part of why we include the exhibitor staff in the number of people at the event, because they're not just there as a unilateral or sort of unidirectional, I'm here to sell you XYZ. They're forming partnerships. They're identifying other exhibitors that have a piece of the problem solved that they haven't been able to solve, and forming these alliances. I personally know of a number of different acquisitions that have taken place in our industry over the last 10 years that started with a conversation because exhibitor A and exhibitor B were across each other in at InfoComm. And so Friday afternoon, they started talking to each other. Those types of things are real, and they're a real part of the value of the event.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the things too, is also remembering, we started with the conversation of planning it all, and part of that plan also has to be to allow the organic things to happen as well, right? And allowing all of that. And I love the point that you were making too, because we're doing show floor tours every day as well, for higher ed and learning space tours. And I remember. And I was just putting out the, I got the email from Marcella telling me I was late getting everything in. So I was working on getting it done, maybe this morning. And I was typing in where the manufacturers were. And it was weird how I'd type in a name and it would come up with like 4 or 5 different places they're at, like a camera manufacturer, whatever. I'm going, and that shows what you were speaking to. Even the collaboration among manufacturers to say so-and-so is showing in this booth and this booth and this booth, and they're kind of creating their own ecosystems and working well together. That's a new phenomenon, I think, recently. And I remember seeing that at ISE this year in a couple of booths, and it surprised me. But just in the number of times I saw it this morning and putting that together. And I think that's really good for our industry to see people playing well with one another.
Well, and I think it's a reflection of demand, right? In that your members, representing billions of dollars of purchasing power, are not tolerant of buying the most perfect component of a system that won't play well with every other aspect of the system that you have in place. Integration, integrated experiences, integrators, it is about connecting part A to part B to create something larger than the individual components. And I think the industry buyers, the users, have forced that onto the exhibitors. And I'm not suggesting that our manufacturers pushed against that, but I think that's the value of capitalism, right? Is this identification of the fact that this is the emerging trend that we need to be cognizant of and need to address, or we won't survive.
Yeah.
And I personally and professionally, I think that's a great thing. My association's purpose is to serve the audiovisual industry on a global basis. So the definition of global hasn't changed in my lifetime. It's still Earth, even if I do make visits to other galaxies to try to bring droids back to our event. But the definition of the AV industry is different this year than it was last year. And the show reflects that, and the attendees reflect that, and the participants, all of the stakeholders of the event reflect that.
Yeah. That is gold. I love that. And you're right. I just love the change too within our industry to see the cooperation with one another. And I'm excited to see it too. I mean, I tell you, my favorite part is I'm going to get revenge on everybody, because now I'm going to be the guy who goes, "Can I scan your badge? Can I scan your badge? Can I scan?" That's going to be me, and then I'm going to follow up 5 days later with "It was great meeting you at InfoComm. Let me tell you that they're going to get the email. Oh, I'm going all out. I'm taking all those times and throwing them right back at everybody. It's going to be fun. It's part of it, right? I get to feel what that's like.
It is. It is.
And I got to say, though, too, I have a brand new respect for anyone who does trade show stands and booth planning. It is taken over my life. It is that I had no idea. I had no idea there should, but it's, and so then the respect to your organization of going, now you're managing all these people and all these things. And, as soon as I got the Freeman account, well, my whole life changed there. And I'm realizing everything you got to plan for all this stuff. And it takes a lot. And so it's kudos to you for even just what it takes to pull all this together on an annual basis is just astounding. I want to go through really quickly all of the things that our higher ed vertical between Higher Ed AV and HETMA are doing in the week. It starts Monday with the Higher Ed AV Award. Tuesday, we have the Higher Education Summit. And, of course, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, the show floor tours at the beginning with the booth on the floor. And then Friday, we have the HETMA banquet, annual banquet. That's a whole lot of Monday through Friday for one vertical. What's the part to you? What are you looking forward to? Where are your cameos? I mean, I know we're one of them. But what are you looking forward to? What is a whole program like that? Not just saying we're going to do one thing. What does that do for a vertical and a show like InfoComm? How's that for a 9-part question?
I have no idea what you just asked me,
I have
Joe.
no idea either. See, the secret to hosting is just keep asking more and talking until something makes sense, and then you have no idea. But that was a whole lot of it. So what? All right, first part then. Out of all that stuff, what are you thinking is the best part of it all? What's the most value there? And then what are you looking forward to?
Within everything you just sort of cataloged for HETMA and higher education, to me, I think the beginning. How do you're asking me which is my favorite child, right?
Well, yeah.
So I mean, I know that at your banquet, you're going to announce the winners of the Prism Scholarship this year, because I know that I'm going to be able to participate in that specifically and personally. And I will sort of restate, and I feel like I repeat myself each year with this, but for me, the most impactful moments of that week, and there's a million of them, but the ones that are most impactful are where I can see the future in somebody's eyes, where I can re-experience the excitement and the passion of hope and uncharted career in an area. And when your organization and other organizations do that, so for me, then if you sort of start with that as the piece that I love most about these gatherings, then it's the student tours, right? When we bring, the 18 to 20-year-olds and sometimes younger into the event and walk with them. And when I actually get an opportunity to talk to those individuals, the if I get particularly burned out, I go hang out at the CTS testing desk, and meet with people that just passed their exam, and or meet with somebody that just failed their exam, and have this personal interchange with them. We can get swept up in the macro part of it. We can get swept up in the 20 by 20 or the 30 by 30 or the 100 by 100 booths. But in the end, what's magical about this industry is the people that are in the industry. And it's a tough industry, right, to make a career in. There's no prescribed pathway. It's very challenging to figure out, okay, it's not like you start as a junior accountant, you become a senior accountant, you become a controller. You may come in as an installer, and then somehow or another you get involved in programming, and then somehow or another somebody throws a project at you, and suddenly you're a project manager, and then you get tapped to be a technical sales support engineer. And I think that's part of there's an argument to be made that we should roadmap out the career to make it easier for everybody. But there's also this argument that if you've been in this industry for 5 years, it's because you love this industry and because you can't do anything else. You can't imagine doing anything else. So for me, introducing that excitement to people that weren't aware of the industry, or reinforcing a pathway to ensure or to contribute to their success, to be a catalyst for their success, that's the payoff. That's the payoff for everything else. And that's why we do events like this, is to be a catalyst for the market growth, to be the hub for the AV profession.
Yeah, I totally agree. What's pretty cool too, because obviously I always say that Prism moment is still my number one moment in my career, obviously of InfoComms, but also in my career when we announced that it was even going to happen. And now we're coming up into another cohort. And what's pretty cool is HETMA right now, we're going through our elections for the next cycle, and we have people who came through the Prism who are now running for positions on our board of directors for HETMA. And that's amazing, right? Just seeing life change because of a program like that. So I had a feeling that was going to be your answer when I asked you for it, and it's true. And I think that's the most amazing way to cap off a week of just all this greatness, but then celebrating both the successes, but also now looking to the future and announcing the next ones and seeing how that's going to grow. And it's just been amazing. And that's what I'm saying. And to even have AVIXA as a partner in that, and really supporting the next generation of professionals, is to me my favorite part. And I will definitely be very tired by that point, though, too. And very excited that my next favorite part will be when that's over. There will only be 1 hour left. And then tear down booth, and then I'm done. Right? That will be it's the sign that there's an end in sight. I'm pretty sure. But
you haven't lived through the show till you've done a loadout. So you think everything else has been interesting with regards to planning and implementing your booth. Wait till you find out what it's like after the show closes too.
I mean, it's not just start grabbing things and run. Just grab and run, right? Get out. I've been hearing stories of that too. We have one of the people. It's a HETMA member, and she's been helping, and actually a Prism scholar. She's helping with our booth, and she used to work for a convention center. like an actual convention center, and work with free and working. So she's been given some great. It's been, and being part of this has been fantastic. But yes, we've been warned about the loadout. And it's like, okay, we need all hands on deck. It's like we got to make the bank. If you want food at the banquet, you have to agree to come and grab stuff and help pack. Got to bribe.
You think through, like we talk about it's a virtual marketplace, right? And it's the physical manifestation of the industry gathering together, but it's also, how many million tons of freightage and, it's the construction and demolition of a city over the course of 2.5 to 3 weeks, and a billion moving parts. And I will never understand the complexity of the entire event, and count myself extraordinarily blessed to have the talented team that I do have working on this and making it look so effortless to the 43,000. Is that your number?
43,000. All 43,000. I'm just, after this call, I'm just going to go and register 30,000 times. That way,
well, I don't think you have to do it that many times. Then you'll blow it out
of the water. Then you'd be like, now we have 60-some thousand people. See? I'll just,
It's a very complex and intricate process with, without exaggeration, thousands of moving parts. And all of them leading to the experience that we hope the attendees have and the stories that they have. And we know that InfoComm attendees are replete with stories, and we want those to be echoed out and told again and again and again. And I guess the only other thing, you haven't asked me explicitly, but I want to sort of build on the PRISM conversation in the future and the changing lives, is that another aspect of the event explicitly over the last few years, since we've made much more explicit investment and efforts in it, is the increasing diversity of the attendee, of the presenters, of the reflection of an industry that is welcoming to all. This is an issue that is a key strategic aspect and commitment from our volunteer board and from all of my team. And I'm really, truly proud of the fact that we've done more than talk that talk, that we've made a difference. We're making inroads. We aren't done. I suspect that we'll never be done, but we continue to create an environment that attracts people of different backgrounds and experiences. And how else can you ensure the future of an industry dependent upon creativity and innovation?
Yeah, I love that. And we've just seen how that has made our industry, and not just with that, but having, AVIXA Diversity Council and all the other programs and the scholarships that the Mosaic Scholarship, like things that AVIXA does too, along with things like the PRISM Scholarship, and seeing that change, have an impact. And we've seen a difference in the industry. So I totally agree. It's been a long time coming. I'm glad to see it actually kind of happening and taking form. I love that. So now, as we kind of wrap up the show, I usually end with a little rapid round of random questions. I just got two really quick. They're quick ones, but I have to ask the flip question of what I asked you last year, because we know that both InfoComms, Vegas and Orlando, were just kind of different shows, different feel, different, right? Obviously. So what is your favorite part? I'm not going to make you wouldn't answer it last year, so I'm going to answer this year, which one you like more. So unless you want to answer that one. But so I'll say, what is your favorite thing about when it's in Orlando?
The thunderstorms. The
random rain when you're trying to walk back from the point to the hotel.
Absolutely. And you get to whatever meeting you were trying to get to, and everybody is soaked and everybody's complaining and everybody is saying, why the heck do we have this in Orlando in June every other year? And then they all turn and look at me awkwardly, and I'm just wiping off as well. Uh, the Orlando team, the Visit Orlando, the Orlando Convention Center, Orlando itself. I think what I remember. So the last time I was in Orlando was for our October show in 21. Mm-hmm. And I mean, I'm literally running through my head conversations with Uber drivers and with waiters and with, the convention center staff about the appreciation they had for us holding the event. And for us, many of those people hadn't worked in months. I think Orlando has this sense of appreciation and welcoming that is maybe less jaded than Vegas. So I like that. I always feel like we're like Orlando's really glad we're there.
That's cool.
And Vegas is glad we're there too. But when we leave, somebody else is going to be there, and when they leave, somebody else is going to be there, and you sort of feel that way. In Orlando, and maybe part of it is also sort of being the surrounding of, Orlando is, existent based on experiences, right? Yeah. And so there's a, again, not to say Vegas isn't as well, but I feel a genuine welcome from all of Orlando when we're there.
That's awesome. I like that. I think you're right. There is a different feel than that feel. And you can feel it in the people and the workers and the service workers. And they're both service industry cities. Yeah. But you definitely feel that appreciation. I totally agree. I like that. I didn't really think about that till you said it. Good answer.
Thanks.
All right.
Thanks, boss.
Last question. Now, this is a new question I had since last year. And this is just, you get a minute. 1 minute. The show is yours. You can talk about anything you want to talk about. It could be tech, it could be not tech, advice, whatever. I've had people talking about baseball. I've had this has gone all over the place. But 1 minute, the show is yours. Talk about anything you want. Your soapbox starts now. It's hard, isn't it?
It is. Because I want to talk about what you want to talk about.
Well,
I don't know. So let's say we talked a lot about what you can get from the show, and maybe in life we spend a lot of time talking about what is the outcome I want, what is it that I want to get from doing these things. Let me use this not in some sort of sermonizing fashion, but use it as an opportunity to just also remind you, and maybe offer to those listening, to not only make that list of what you want to get, what outcomes you want, but what you're going to give, what you want to make sure you pass on to somebody else, or what's the funniest dad joke you heard that you want to make sure you find an excuse to tell, whatever it, or how can you directly impact somebody's experience at the event, or how do you reach out and reinforce a sense of equity and belonging to somebody you don't know, or how do you reinforce that sense of welcoming from the Uber driver or the waiter or the bartender. So don't at both InfoComm, but in life, since you're saying I could talk about anything I want to talk about, let's also take a few moments to be explicit about what we want to give to our community, not only what we want to get out of that community.
I love it. That was great. I know it puts people on the spot, but that was fantastic. So very, very, very good. As always, thank you, Dave. How can people get a hold of you if they want to connect with you?
They can send me an email the old-fashioned way, dlabuskes@avixa.org. I'm on Twitter at David Labuskes, and they can call me. My number's out there to pretty much anybody that wants to get it.
Awesome.
As the spammers have identified.
I can only imagine. No, as always, it's quite a pleasure to have you on. Thank you very much. This is always a pleasure, and I encourage everybody, go, if you haven't registered yet for InfoComm, please do go. You can go on for the InfoComm show website, register, pick between two codes. Hired AV has a code, so it's HEAV, and HETMA has a code, HETMA, right? So pick one. I'm going to try to beg for credit for both of them, all right? I don't know which one I'm supposed to support more, but, or, register 30,000 times and, use them over and over. All right, thank you, everybody. Hopefully you enjoyed this. As always, you can find Hired AV at hiredav.com, HETMA at HETMA_org on all the socials, Hired AV at Hired AV on all the socials, and me at Josiah Way on all of the socials. And of course, none of the opinions expressed here are necessarily those of any institutions, our companies, sponsors of the show, or anything along the lines of anyone who would get upset the fact that we said it. And if you did not like any of these opinions, there may be better ones next time.